Welcome to Entrepreneur TV, powered by Entrepreneur Nation and sponsored by Sandler Training in London. And today we have the man behind Sandler Training in London. Today we're going to talk about some real story behind this person. And this person is no other than Stewart Lebert. Stewart, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thanks, Riz.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Stewart is the president of Sandler Training in London. And a unique thing is that Stewart actually started being a child in training environment, and he saw how his father was able to develop the business and develop people in sales methodologies and management and helping people to get their leadership skills. And today, Stewart is going to share his story, his part of the upbringing and upgrowing as an entrepreneur. And today we're going to ask him some good questions so people can learn from your story, your success path, and how you have achieved it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to begin with, what is your story, Stewart?
Well, I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about it. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. My dad was a business guy. He was a VP of sales, general manager for a small company called Hostess Frito-Lay, and he kept taking promotions across the country. And so I think we lived in 4 or 5 cities by the time I turned 10.
Okay.
Which is not terrible, but it's a lot. So constantly building new friendships and things of nature. But we ended up back in London in 1996 when my dad started Southwest Professional Development here in London, ultimately, which is Sandler Training,
right,
as a business. And so I think I was in grade 5 actually.
Okay.
When that happened. So. I've always kind of been around this concept, around sales training, around the training, that type of environment. Anytime we ever went into a car, my dad would reinforce his material, which was sales training tapes. And so ultimately, I listened to sales training tapes at the age of, what would that be? I don't know, 12 or 11.
So no songs, but a sales training thing?
No, we never really listened to music in the car. It was always Sandler tapes, Ziegler tapes, just things of that nature that would help him in his business as an entrepreneur and get him in the right frame of mind for his business on a day-to-day basis. That's what we listen to. So that's kind of my upbringing to a certain extent. And so I think every job I've ever had has been in sales.
Okay.
Which is interesting because, really everyone sells, now that you think of it, but every job I've actually ever been in has been in some kind of sales capacity.
Okay. So basically, the world was crafting your story in sales automatically. Is that true? But I believe you went to university for different studies, right? Yeah,
no, I honestly, I never once thought until it actually happened I'd work with my dad.
Okay.
So I went off to university. I went to Western and went for history and classical studies. I'm very passionate about history. Learn a lot about Canadian history, world history, and even ancient history as well. Greece and Rome, things of nature. And that was always been my passion. So I pursued that in university. And then after I finished, I think I sat down for lunch with my dad one day, and we were just kind of having conversation back and forth. And I think I asked him, I'm like, I think you've owned this business now for about 10 years, or I can't remember what it was, maybe 12 years at the time.
Okay.
And I knew that he had something to do with sales and something to do with, helping people and things of nature, but I never really truly understood what it involved.
Okay.
And I think I asked him a question like, could I shadow you? Or something like that. And his comment at the time was, I never knew one of my kids was interested. I always wanted one to be.
Okay.
So we never got pushed into it. So I would say that wasn't really part of my story growing up. But once I spent that week with him, that first week shadowing him, and I recognized kind of what it is that he truly did and how he impacted people's lives, that hooked me. And so here we are, almost 10 and a half years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and I love to hear it because I do listen to all those books while I watch, and my kids don't want to be in my car.
As a 14 or 15-year-old, you're not really looking to listen to sales training tapes or motivational tapes or whatever they are.
So the story was crafting to you. How do you think that you actually managed to come up with this, that, okay, I am entrepreneur? When did you realize this?
That's a really good question. I never really saw myself as an entrepreneur until honestly, I had this moment, and it's actually it was actually in a training environment. I never really saw myself as that way, but I was in a training environment, and I was training an older gentleman, and I think at break or something of nature, he went to his boss and was like, oh, what am I going to learn from this kid? Because I was fairly young at the time. I think I was like 25 or something of nature, right? And his boss goes, that kid knows more than you know. Just sit there and listen. And I think that stuck with me.
Okay.
Because I overheard it.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of like, that was like the turning point, so to speak, in my psyche of kind of what I was doing.
Okay.
Not saying that I joined my dad without really understanding like what my future where my future lied, but I'll be honest, as a 25-year-old sales trainer, I wasn't knowing if that was my world or not. I was working with clients and companies that had been in business longer than I'd been alive.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
and I believe that, because that's how we actually operate.
Yeah. But what I realized in that kind of split moment is that, like, I have a lot of power. I have my own capacity to assist and deliver and to support organizations and peoples that I don't think I believed in prior to that, because I needed that I guess it was third-party assurance, so to speak, as a young adult, and I think that's kind of the moment that was like, oh, this is my career, this is what I do, and I'm truly living the life I should be living.
Absolutely. So Stewart actually mentioned a great point. As an entrepreneur, we need assurance, we need the support, we need that connection. Somebody is going to tell me I am the one who is doing the great job, and that the real part comes afterward, because the tenacity, the action, the behavior changed right after that. Mm-hmm. Right?
I'd say it was a big attitude change. In fact,
yes.
It's not that I didn't have good beliefs to begin with or good affirmations to begin with, but I think they weren't supported by, as you said, somebody in that sense, right? Someone with, I don't even want to call it authority. That individual didn't necessarily have authority, but it was that kind of moment that there was an assurance that, what I was doing, in fact, I was good at what I was doing, and just needed that kind of that small little bit as a young adult. Okay.
And do you often share your story whenever you go and prospecting, meeting your client? Do you share that story with people?
Yeah, I find that story is something that does resonate with people. Yeah. It does help build credibility, so to speak, with what I do. I think a lot of people in my capacity, in my world, as I talk to business owners as well, they're looking for someone that they have belief in, that person's going to assist them. Mm-hmm. So in sharing that story, and that, like literally I've really been a part of the sales training world for probably about a good 20 years, if not longer. Yeah. And obviously my age doesn't necessarily show that, but having kind of that been ingrained in my psyche, into my consciousness and into subconsciousness, does help with creating kind of that conversation piece to have a conversation. Because I think even when I was younger, even people would always say, like, how long have you been in the business? Yeah. And that's really what people are asking. They're asking for that story, like, that's right. Or do you know what you're talking about, so to speak, right?
Yeah. So you go and train people in sales, management, and leadership there. When you go them, do you find people have stories, the entrepreneurs have stories? Do they share that often? And if they do they present it well?
It's a good question again. A part of my structure of asking questions and getting to know individuals, I mean, I truly want to get to know people like what you're doing right now. I want to get to know them on a deeper level than just what's around their office or what's on their walls and things of nature. And so I think every time I'm ever meeting with an entrepreneur, I always ask, how did they get involved in the business? How did they get involved in their industry? What brought them to where they're at today? And what's the growth plan? What happened with the company and those types of things. I think I'm always trying to dig further with every person I talk to and try to get their story out of them. do they share it in an effective way? I think most people are passionate about their own business. They're passionate about themselves, and so if you can get an entrepreneur talking about themselves and their company, they're usually pretty good at delivering it. Okay. But I think usually they miss out maybe necessarily on why or maybe what their passion is about the business. Yeah. They usually give you the factual information though.
That's right, because if we saw as a small business owner, awesome at the entrepreneur, we find that we just jump into the sales hat, right? And then we talk about product and services, the passion, the all thing goes behind. Or the passion is the one which talk about it, not how they're going to be able to help.
Yeah, so it's like you want to start with the why, right? Like, why do you do what you do? Before you're looking, in my world, before I'm looking to help a business grow or to embed systems or process, I want to know, why are they doing what they do? Like, why did they get involved in the company? And I think that's kind of to that what you're talking about, that point of, what's their passion behind it? Like, what's their why? Simon Sinek's.
Yes, absolutely. So folks, you just heard that as a person who is a business to business, the person who is going to help other business to go to the next level, he is also interested to know your story. And that certainly comes hand in hand when you're talking to your potential client, that they need to hear the story behind that business, the business owner. I wanted to ask you, your suggestion would be for our viewers that we're going to watch this show, that how do you craft, how do you find, how do you get in that discovery phase that you're able to get that story, refine it, and present it? I'm not talking about 30-second commercial, because that's something we do that on the cuff, just wanting to solicit business. But this is a deeper.
Yeah. For anyone that's listening and watching, in crafting your own story, I don't think, don't go fake, obviously, at that end. Don't make things up, but find the silver linings that happened within what's going on in your worlds and what brought you to where you're at today. And no matter what your story involves, no matter what capacity it has, or whether it has ups and downs, or trials and tribulations and all those things, it doesn't necessarily have to have any of those things in it, but it has to be genuine, I think, is the key component, and it has to have that reason, that why, as we were kind of just saying, behind what's in that, like why are they doing what they're doing, right? And I think no matter what that story encompasses, I think that why will really resonate with whoever you're talking to, no matter what, because we all go through similar stories. Yeah. Right? Like I think if you kind of took all of them kind of combined, there's going to be commonalities between everything that's in there. But the menial details and stuff, the nature, that's your stuff. That's your unique story. I think we all have unique ones, but they're all kind of common as well.
That's interesting. Why behind it, and be true and honest, because that's the other thing, because other people will see it through, and then what is in for you, what is in for the other person. The story is always based on what you are going to be able to see it, right? Whenever I describe or I share with my clients, the story is how this person will be seeing me. For example, I was, always talk about one of my out of going comfort zone. So I was actually dangling in the crevice at K2 Mountain, and I express or share with this that you should have seen me dangling with this rope with my trainer, which attached to the trainer. Now the onus is that person is seeing it through. Instead of me describing it, it's the other way. So it's you focus. Certainly a different way of doing it. We are here with Sandler Training President Stewart Lebert, and the interview continues. Have a great, the things that will come up that you wanted to know, and take note of it. How do you progress as an entrepreneur, bringing your story to life? Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break.
Hi, I'm Stewart Lebert with Sandler Training in London. I want you to know that this is a paid advertisement for my company, and the purpose of this ad is to generate market share and awareness for my company here in London, Ontario. But once your prospects are in front of you, that's sales. If your company is spending lots of money on advertising and marketing, and you're still missing those selling opportunities that come as a result of those actions, perhaps you should get in contact with us or call SandlerTrainingLondon.ca.
Welcome back, Entrepreneur TV, and today we have our special guest, Stewart Lebert, president of Sandler Training in London. And we were talking about crafting a story for entrepreneur and how Stewart came into the business and now how he's helping other people create the story, understand the story, and be able to present either in sales, leadership, or management. And Stewart, while we were talking off camera, we were thinking how we were able to help people to have that story, because everybody has a story, right?
Yeah.
Why they're in this business. How do you think that there are three components that will help them connect that dots and be able to express their why they're in their business?
I think, yeah, I mean, everyone does have a story. It doesn't matter what your story exists or sorry, what it comprises of. Everyone does have a story, and you know, mine started with a childhood type thing, and I think a lot of people's does.
Absolutely.
Or it starts with some kind of, I don't want to call it trauma, or but you know, something that went negative in their world, and that was where, you know, something clicked and it caused them to start thinking a different way. So I think there's always kind of a start component. So whether that's a start again from a childhood experience, and you know, you always dreamed of being a business owner, or you always dreamed of helping people, or whatever that is, that's probably a certain start point. You know, within the middle part of your story, I think you're going to have your ups and downs, and you probably want to highlight, you know, I think overcoming an obstacle is usually a little bit more compelling of a story. But you know, you could always talk about the success that you've achieved as well, the high points, because technically the end of the story could be a low point, it could be a high point, it could be, you know, the middle ground, so to speak, as well. But you know, ultimately you want to try to get your story to kind of have a good flow again, that the person listening will understand pretty clearly and concisely as to where, you know, where your passion, where your why kind of, you know, is going, and why you're doing what you're doing, because that's going to be the reason why they're going to be interested in you.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think it's important to have entrepreneur a story they can relate to, they express the why in a, you know, in a safe environment with a bunch of other entrepreneurs, so they can connect to, you know, build confidence and rapport?
I think if anything, the entrepreneur, the individual who's, you know, running the company, their story by all stretches of the mean, that is the company. So if you can concisely and share that with friends and family, and give away the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, I think you're going to get better buy-in with the individuals that you're talking to as well, because they're going to see that, you know, you're not just doing this because, like, you know, it's like, oh, it's like money or something of the nature, right? But it's like you're passionate about it, right? And I think when you share your passions with other individuals, I think genuinely people do want to help you achieve your passions.
Absolutely.
They want to help you achieve your dreams. And I truly believe that if you share your dreams and aspirations with people, whether they're friends or family or really just random people as well, they'll help you achieve them. So if you don't ever share, it's really hard for anyone to know what you're trying to achieve as well.
Yeah. Don't you teach these people that when you make a goal, tell other people and go there? So it's similar.
Yeah, you know, some people that are listening might have heard this story before, but it's the birdcage analogy. And I actually had someone tell me this actually not too long ago, that they shared their birdcage with someone, and then someone put a bird in it. So hypothetically, again, this is not the actual scenario, but when you share your goals with others, people will help you achieve it. In this scenario, the metaphor is that if you were to go and buy a birdcage and put it in your house, your spouse or your partner or you know, friends and family will start to look at it, and they'll ask you questions like, "What's with the birdcage?" Right? And you're gonna be like, "Oh, you know, one day." You know, that's literally all you have to say is, "Oh, one day," and then, you know, next they'll keep asking you, and you'll just keep saying, "Oh, one day," and then finally they're all going to get together and be like, "Hey, Riz, I think Stewart wants a bird. Should we get him a bird?" And you could honestly, you could bet on that. Like they'll, you know, your friends and family will put a bird in that bird cage in probably 30 to 60 days as well. So it works fast. But that's the metaphor, so to speak. The analogy is that, you know, if you don't share, you know, if you share your goal, which is the bird, so to speak, if you share your goal with others, and you give them a mechanism in order to help you, they'll find a way.
Absolutely. So that's fantastic analogy. I think connects with the same thing. When you share the story, your passion behind it, people will come and connect with that too, right? Is of rapid fire.
Oh, okay.
So I want to ask you some rapid fire, few questions, and you have 10 seconds to answer.
One word answers here, or just rapid fire?
The rapid fire question. Okay. So, very easy question. You win $1 million in a lottery. What would you do? There's three options.
Oh.
One is you spend the $1 million on yourself. Number two is you buy a Ferrari for your son. And number three is give $1 million to food bank.
Ooh, those are three good choices. I'll say right off the bat, I can't spend any money on myself. So that one's a tough one. So that one's off. Would I buy a Ferrari for my son? Is it $1 million Ferrari? We're spending the whole $1 million on a Ferrari? Yeah. It's totally possible, right? I'd probably give the money. Honestly, I'd probably give the money to the food bank.
Although you have Ferrari in your office.
It's a Porsche, actually.
It's a Porsche.
Yeah.
Yellow.
So if you ever visit my office, there's an orange Porsche GT3 model. So yeah.
That shows a story too.
There's another story behind that one.
There's a story behind too. Okay. Now, you are driving a motorbike, and there's one seat available for you. Who would you pick for a ride? One person is, a super player, like, player of basketball.
Okay.
Another is movie star.
Okay.
And the last one is somebody you know from London.
So I'm riding the front of the bike, got someone on the back.
And there's three people waiting to get a ride. Who would you give?
I'm sorry, my wife, Mally. I'm taking the superstar, the movie star.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Now the third. Okay. Now the second part of our fun part is connection part of it. We wanted to call one of your business associate and on speakerphone and say hello. Say hello to Riz. I'm on Entrepreneur TV.
Okay.
Let's see who's gonna.
It's like call a friend from.
Call a friend.
Okay, geez. I pick anyone?
Well, it's up to you. Who would you think, as a small business owner, that you have that network, who can pick up your phone and...
I honestly think whoever I call will pick up.
Okay. Confidence.
I am fairly confident about this. But that's the thing, I could play this real safe, or I could play it like real hard. Should I go safe or hard? What do you want?
It's up to you.
We're just gonna pick anybody. Then.
Anyone, who you know, you're a business owner.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink is blocked. You need a plumber, and a network of people network, right?
All right. I haven't talked to this guy in 12 months. I'll say.
Okay.
About a year. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
His name is Dino.
Dino. Okay. Ringing.
Well, that's a good sign, I suppose. Oh, maybe this won't go well. I was overconfident.
Yeah, it's fine. It happens, right? People have life too.
Yeah, it's also 6:40 in the evening.
Yes.
Don't know if that makes a difference or not. No.
No.
I got voicemail.
Voicemail, no.
We're trying again?
Try another one?
We're trying someone else?
Yes.
All right, if you don't pick up. Just kidding. Here we go.
Okay. Who we calling?
Mike Balaban.
Mike Balaban, okay.
Good evening, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, Mike. I'm on something called the Entrepreneur TV, and we're calling people off my phone to see if they'd pick up.
Oh, hi.
Hello, Mike. This is Riz.
Hello, Entrepreneur TV. How are you doing?
Good, Mike. Thank you for picking up the phone. We wanted to ensure that we have the network that we can depend on, and whenever we call, somebody's going to pick up our calls.
Mike, I will honestly say you're the one person that I think anytime I've ever actually called you, no matter what, you were my third choice because I knew you would answer. But I tried two other people who I didn't know if they would answer or not, but 100% without fault, you're always the guy that answers the phone when I need you.
Awesome.
It all depends on the timing, buddy, but yes.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of inspection, I won't, but other than that, yes, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I know you're busy too, right? But I think every time I've ever tried to get a hold of you, I think you maybe not off the first ring, but you'll either send me a text message back or you'll answer. You're very good, so I appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Always.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
Thank you for Entrepreneur TV.
Oh, sounds great.
All right. Take care.
All right, talk to you later.
Well, Yay! See? We have an award.
1 out of 3.
You win.
That's just like sales, actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
A cold calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you want to be remembered, Stewart? I know you've been in industry, you've been helping people, you have a great story to connect with. What is your deepest desire that you want to be remembered at?
That's actually, again, another interesting question. I think one of the things that personally what I have is I don't necessarily have the ego associated with being like the best in the world or being the most wide renowned. I mean, even though I said the word venerable before and stuff of the nature. But I think one of the things that I want to be recognized for, and you know, like if it was my was that eulogy, right? And, you know, you're passing away, and there, you know, people are remembering you. The legacy that I leave behind, I hope will be something that will be along the lines of, you know, he helped lots of people or supported people in achieving their dreams and desires. I honestly get a lot more enthusiastic about my job when I hear the success stories of my clients, and you know, when I hear things like they closed the single biggest deal their company's ever seen, or you know, they come to me and said, you know, with the help of your organization, I've made $1 million incrementally. Things of the nature. So I think at the end of the day, I think my legacy is the hopefully that, you know, we've able to assist some entrepreneurs, some salespeople, some managers, some leaders in our community in achieving the results and aspirations and dreams that they were hoping for themselves and their families.
Wow, that's wonderful to understand. Not only because I was trying to see, okay, what I will get it, but you are always thinking about what other people get out of you, because that's a fantastic way of looking outward.
You talked about previously you said, you know, you give off to the world and you'll receive in return in positive ways, and I do truly believe that whole concept of givers. Yeah, so I'll just let you do your thing.
And here's the story of Stewart Lebert, president of Sandler Training in London. You can always reach out to him when you Google Sandler Training in London, and they can find all that information in this. But today, he shared his story, how he came up right from his childhood, living in that zone, and then once the entrepreneurship comes into hand, and then got an assurance for them, and how he stepped onto the ladder. He gave great advice for you not to give up on your first, because the quitter is the only one who are the one that lose at the end. We do fail time after time, but if we continue, we're going to win. As an entrepreneur, you have a story. You have a good story you wanted to share with the people. You wanted to be able to express how people will be able to connect with you. And today, Stewart Lebert has shared his story. Stewart, I thank you for your courageous act of it. And I know you're not afraid of coming, and I know you are always on the stage. And
thanks for having me here. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, thank you for sharing your story and letting other people see you, the real you, the why it's in the business.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you having me here, Riz, to be a part of Entrepreneur TV and to share any kind of insights that I possibly can, and to anyone that's watching, hopefully you gain some value out of it today.
Yes, absolutely. So Entrepreneur TV, sponsored by Sandler Training in London, and for the Entrepreneur Nation in the back. So looking forward to see you again. If you have a story, if you know someone who has a story, who would like to be featured on Entrepreneur TV, please contact us. Keep watching. Looking forward.